Yep. Live from the Cricket Studios. It's time for TMI.
Heyo.
Hey, what's happening, guys?
Hey.
Yeah, and now you may wonder why we're a little dapper today. It's going to dress up for our guest tonight, I guess, because we have a great guest tonight. I'm a little bit under the weather, so if I, sound kind of weird, deal with it. Nothing different than any other show, I suppose. Terry, Grace, how you doing, guys? How's it been for the past 2 weeks? 4th of July, good weekend?
Yeah, except for we saw a 3-foot long copperhead in our backyard yesterday. So there's that.
Ooh.
They love the heat, so they're coming out. North Carolina is kind of known for them. So it was a little freaky, like, okay, they are really here. Like, it's really not on your radar till you see it in front of you, and I was like, noted. Don't ever go outside again.
I don't know if it's the cough syrup speaking or if it's just my hearing, but when you said that, I thought you said copper tone. I'm like, well, of course, suntan lotion comes out in the summertime, but
I mean, she's a redhead. She's afraid of tans.
she's afraid of the sun. That makes sense. But then I realized you didn't say copper tone. You said copperhead, and
Copperheads, it's very poisonous, very venomous
just as scary.
snake.
I celebrated my 16th wedding anniversary on the 4th of July. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Yeah, as I like to call it. I don't say this in front of her, but I lost my freedom on Independence Day.
Oh.
I will not be asking you for marital advice.
Actually, she likes to call it Jim Dependent Day, is what she likes to call it, because,
Oh.
I'm a voice actor.
All right, so she gets hers in there.
She gets hers in there as
Good
well.
for Mel and
Yeah,
I almost called her Mel, but I don't know.
All right, attack of the. We got a lot of comments already from people. Hello, everybody. I'd love to get to everybody and say hi, but we have a great show coming up. We have a lot to get to, so we should get at it. As you know, or as you don't know, maybe you do, maybe you don't. You should by now. Coming up,
Where you been?
Christmas in July, 2 weeks from today. We have a whole bunch of great things. We just had another $500 off video game demo from a newcomer, Lock and Key Studios. He wanted to donate something that he could do. Troy Holden's got some stuff. Brock Powell, 2 hours of animation coaching sessions. Brad Highland, Tim Bowers, Tina Marasco, Kristen Paiva, Tom Antonellis, Brad Highland, Jen Henry, the list, Liz Atherton, Dave Fenoy, Chris Zellman. The list goes on and on of coaching that we're giving away. Plus, we teamed up with the audio ninja himself, Jordan Reynolds. And he's giving us one of his Audio Ninja masterclasses to give away. Plus, he's going to give us his Jordan's, his Apollo Solo, or the Apollo interface class that he has, specifically for the Apollo interface. And just to sweeten the pot a bit, Grace, Terry, and I decided to purchase one of those Apollo Solos.
Apollo things?
Yeah, so we're gonna couple that. We're gonna put that together. That's what we're going to do. We're going to put that together so that one person is going to win not only the interface, they're also going to win the program to learn how to work it, which, it's a great unit, but there is a learning curve. So Terry's still learning, actually. And to top it off, he is. To top it off, the piece de resistance the lobster to our steak, shall we say, on our surf and turf of giveaways. J. Michael Collins, our guest tonight, has graciously donated a demo, a non-broadcast demo, and that's going to be our big grand prize. Last of the evening giveaway. We have over $12,000 in prizes. We have, I think there's somewhere around 46, 47 actual items being given away. Kristen Piver is doing like a workshop, so 6 people will all win to do a private workshop with Kristen Piver. Pretty cool.
She's a maniac,
Amazing.
maniac.
Actually, she's in
the best
England
way.
right now, but
In
she
the
might be.
best way. She's a
She might
maniac,
be in
y'all.
the air right now. Yeah,
You're gonna have so much fun,
She
whoever
might
wins that.
be.
Yeah.
Lots
Yeah,
of
you
fun.
are.
So that's happening in 2 weeks, people. You have to get signed up. How much does it cost to enter, Terry?
For free.
Free. That's right.
Zero.
Cost you nothing to enter. Go to themicrophoneinsider.com. You get to that page. You will see it right on the front page. Click there. Get registered. We are going to end registration at 11:59 next Friday because I need time to type in all those names into the wheel of names. Then we're just going to sit here in 2 weeks. And yeah,
How you think?
I'm like well, actually, it's more
Just
like a
spin the wheel over.
sometimes
and
it's
over.
the pen poke. Yeah. So however long it takes us to spin the wheel to give away everything, that's what it's going to be. So looking forward to that. What else we have going on? Let's get to Terry. Why not? Let's just hit it up. Where's Terry?
Where's my song?
Oh, wait a minute. No. Hold on. I can't do this again. Hold on a second, guys. Let me get to where we need to be here. We need the Michael Cunningham, is what we need.
Gotta have it. Gotta have it.
We'll have to mute this part for Randy.
We have toned down the music a bit, though, so let's just hit this, and hopefully I can just put those pictures in as we go.
Hi, Mike.
Yeah, there you go.
I love that guy.
I do too. You can't
Right,
not
let's get
love
into
him,
this.
I guess. All right, what do you
Can't
got?
not love him. Have to love him.
Exactly.
Let's get into this. Today, easy recipes that you can do too. Today we're doing individual non-pizzas. So what you're gonna need is one piece of frozen naan, in my opinion, which is the correct one. Garlic is the best for pizza. You need one steak. That is optional. You don't have to have it unless you want it to be super delicious. You need one packet of pizza cheese, one jar of pizza sauce, one sliced tomato, one sweet pepper, sliced, baby spinach. All of that is optional as well. So here's your steps. First thing you want to do is preheat that oven to 400 degrees. You want to cook that steak however you prefer, grill, broil, whatever you need to do, and cook it medium rare. It's important that it's medium rare because you want to set that aside and then slice after resting. Slice after resting.
Why
You
is
don't wanna
that,
lose the
Terry?
juices,
Exactly.
so that you don't lose the juices in your steak.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yes,
So you want to
please.
spread the pizza
Let it
sauce.
rest.
Yep, that's right. That's right. So you want to spread that pizza sauce on that naan evenly, covering about 95% of the surface, leaving those edges so you can have them nice and crisp. And you want to add your preferred amount of cheese and veggies alongside those slices of steak and put that back in that 400-degree oven and cook that for about 10 to 12 minutes. And you got that beauty right there.
And that's why
Bam.
you want it medium rare, right? Because you're cooking it more in the oven.
Exactly. And it'll also
Now-
cook a little bit more while you're letting it rest.
I got to tell you, Terry, I'm a little bit disappointed in you.
Why is that, Jay?
I was expecting like lobster rolls or some sort
I
of
knew there would be people that would.
crustacean.
But you know what? That's something that Terry can cook, but not everyone else can too.
WTF, Grace?
Grace?
WTF, Grace? WTF, Grace?
WTF, Grace?
WTF, Grace?
I love the fact that we all know who that is at the very
Man,
end.
like, I
Jane.
don't know those voices, but I want to track every single one of them down.
Well, you can tell which one is Jane Beverly, that's for sure. Right at the
Very
end.
easily.
Yeah. Third
I
to
will
last
never
is Jane.
hunt down
Yeah.
Jane Beverly, the Lady Jane. Okay, so
All right,
my fiance is a composer, and he's starting to study scoring to film. So when this little fun fact came across my radar, I was like, "What?" Because I never really thought about it. So Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is the first movie to release a motion picture soundtrack, like in the United States. And also, it is the first animated feature film fully produced in the United States. Also, um, it was released in 1938, so that's going back a bit, right? And Adriana Caselotti voiced Snow White, and June Foray is in the cast, but my investigative skills failed me. Maybe I need to enlist Kayla from JMC's podcast.
There you go.
But I don't know. I cannot find anywhere what or who June Foray played in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Knowing June, she probably voiced like 27 characters, but yeah, I couldn't find what she voiced. Anyway, I thought that was cool. Snow White was the first motion picture soundtrack. I know in my day I've purchased. There's June. Yeah, I looked up pictures of June in 1938. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I just
They had
thought
the-
it was
They
kind
had
of
the
endearing.
internet. They had the internet back in 1938, Grace.
Of course they did.
Sure, I willed it to be.
There you go. All right. Weird and wacky facts with Grace. We're not going to have another one until September, it seems, because we're going to be doing our Christmas thing and no more cooking with Terry. So you guys are on your own. So I guess it's non-pizza and Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs until September. You guys get through with that. All right, listen, we're going to get right to it. We're kind of rushing through here because I want to get to our guests more than you know. And I know Grace wants to have this guest on. When we first started talking about the TMI broadcast. TMI, too much information. After we figured out TMI, we figured out the Microphone Insider. So we had to get we had a TMI concept first. And we wanted a TMI bonus question. And Grace said, you know, I have the perfect one for J. Michael. He was supposed to be like our fourth or fifth guest, but scheduling conflicts, and she's been holding this in her pocket and talking about it ever since.
No,
So
I have not been talking about it. Just okay.
we'll get to it. How's that? Ladies and
Yes,
gentlemen,
we will.
let me pull up the intro because I'd like to give our guest here his due, because with over 25 years as a professional voice actor, J. Michael Collins has worked with some of the biggest companies, brands, sports, sport leagues, organizations, pretty much anything that's everything on the planet. In addition of his work in the classic agency-based world of VO, he's also established himself as a leading authority in the online casting marketplace. He's an industry leader. He's a demo producer. You know, I'm going to ask him what the trends are coming up, because ever since I've known him, his predictions have pretty much been spot on. So we'll be asking that question. J. Michael has won over more than 50 industry awards as a voice actor, demo producer, scriptwriter, casting director, along with his lovely wife. Well, that was just last year. Along with his lovely wife and business partner, Anna, who they recently took over VO Atlanta last year. This was the second year, and I have to say the changes that were made for this year were incredible. It didn't seem like there was as many people there as there was, because it was planned out without a hitch this year. So looking forward to that. I've been to one. Hopefully you can get to one as well. He's also the face of One Voice and Gravy for the Brain here in the U.S. He has his Euro retreats. I went to Switzerland, had a great time. I believe I'm going to Holland and Amsterdam in the spring. If you have a chance to get on one of those Euro retreats, I highly recommend it. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, put your hands together for the one and only Mr. J. Michael Collins. Wow. Oh, I hit the wrong one, J. Michael. Here we go.
Hi.
Well, thank you guys, and what a wonderful intro. Thank you for having me. And I got to say, just initially here, I'm impressed and embarrassed at the same time, because this is slick, and my podcast is just a bunch of yapping with no video and graphics or anything else, and not live. This is slick stuff, and not surprising given various backgrounds here, but nice stuff, guys.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. And we appreciate your support in this as well, because I know that you've helped me and you've guided me and mentored me on a few things, and you've have voiced your opinion of what we're doing here. No, it's okay. I live off my wife's money. It's okay. It doesn't really matter.
So do we. He was apologizing to everyone else, Jim, not you.
To hell with you, Frank. All right, so let's get into it. If you guys have any questions for J. Michael, you guys know the deal. If you don't, you ask your question in the chat. Make sure you put a Q, if you would, in front of it. It just makes it a lot easier for me to sort through all the, hey, what's happening? Hello, guys. And the conversations you guys have within the chat as well. So put a Q in front of it. If you want to have any questions for J. Michael Collins, this is the time. I've got that big question I already talked about. What are the trends that you see coming up for the next, 6 to 12 months?
Hold on, before we get there, we have to ask the obvious question. Where in the world is J. Michael Collins?
Where in the world? I'll tell you right now, I can tell by the background. I'm going to guess. If I had to guess, I'd say you're across the pond in Germany.
Well, you're close. I'm across the pond in Luxembourg, but
Luxembourg,
yeah. And he knows my backgrounds because he recorded at Lobster Manor as demos.
Yeah.
Well, so did Terry actually.
Terry did.
Yeah, no, Luxembourg for another 12 days, and then we're going to be in the Maryland house for the rest of the summer.
Nice. That's because you have air conditioning in Maryland, right?
Well, unfortunately, it's not hot over here this year. So that 96, it's been in Maryland for a while. Yes, we have those 2 big train units outside, and we need both of them.
All right. So I want to get to that question. Actually, Julie has a question for you first. What is your favorite type of demo that you like to produce the most?
Oh, God. I'll give you 2 answers to that. My heart is always with commercials, just because it's where I eat most of the time, and it's maybe the part of the industry that I'm most passionate about, and that's kind of defined my career. And I love writing commercial copy, and you had the question about the trends. A lot of that goes into what comes out with that copy and the production of them. I mean, just for pure giggles, a promo demo or a trailer demo is a hell of a lot of fun to make, just because you just get to blow stuff up basically. And they're a blast. So those 2 for 2 different reasons.
All right, Grace.
Pat Kennedy would like to know, what steps do you use to stay on top of VO trends in various genres?
I am blessed to have the advantage of having a pretty fair amount of representation and access to a lot of copy that is what's going to be on the air in 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, sometimes a little bit beyond that. So I get to kind of see some of the trends that are occurring in real time, a little bit in advance of some people. I also, on a daily basis, am talking to major casting directors, major talent agents, people at ad agencies, people across the industry. So I'm having that conversation frequently, and that allows me to again, just have a little bit of a preview of what's coming down the line, and adapt my performance. And then when we're doing demos and we're working on the production side of things, to adapt to that as well. I think that's the biggest advantage I have, is that I get a little bit of a sneak peek. But also, having been around for a minute, you do start to see trends coming a little bit. You can start to see what's getting a little played out. You can start to see, buyers, maybe they're using the same language, but what they're actually buying is starting to shift a little bit. What's making it to air is starting to shift a little bit. Once you've been in the game for a minute, you can almost start to predict where it's going to move. Not 2 years down the road, but often 3 months, 6 months down the road, you can sort of see where things are starting to go and why.
Fair enough. Let's see. Since you brought up the trends, or since Pat brought up the trends, let's get to that question. What trends do you see coming in the next 6 to 12 months? And more importantly, when do you see the need for the old overweight white guy that lives off his wife's money coming back?
So, first off, trends. A good question. First off, the trends. I'm waiting for the day it's Anna's money.
I asked him, honey. I asked him. Hold on.
But you're a mess, man. Trends wise, the cool thing right now, actually, and it's cool and it's scary at the same time, is that, and we'll start with commercial. I'll speak to some other genres too, but with commercial, it's the wild flipping west right now. It's really interesting how all over the place it is, and it's something I haven't seen in a minute. And I think the reason for it, especially with conversational reads, which are changing in some ways, is that people forget. You know, we've constantly been coaching everybody towards be real, be authentic, be believable, be conversational, all these different things, right, for the past decade. Here's the thing: the announcer read died for the most part, not at certain levels and certain verticals in the business, but I mean, for the most part, there's a reason we teach conversational first. The announcer read died because people were getting tired of it. It was overplayed. It was the thing that everybody had heard for years and years and years. Well, guess what? The conversational read as we know it today has been around for a decade now. And it is starting to register on the ear of the average consumer as no longer being real, authentic, believable, but they're starting to go, wait a minute, that's just another trick. That's just another thing they're doing to try to sell me something, right? And so because of that, buyers are trying to figure out how to adapt to the fact that the average consumer is getting a little bit hip to the tricks that we've been using for a while. And so things are kind of floating off in different directions. I will still say that if there's humor in the copy, okay, everything you've learned in any class you've taken over the past 10 years still basically applies. Okay, that hasn't changed. Humorous copy is still very much living in the same place it has for quite a while. There was a shift during COVID where it went from being silly to being a little bit more awkward and weird, but the technique in terms of how you move through the copy,
like butt wipes.
Like butt wipes, exactly. You know, as pretty. I think we had an afternoon poop bean in the e-learning demo I premiered today. But
I saw that. I heard that today. Yeah, I heard that today.
But ultimately, that was a little subtle shift. But the technique in terms of delivery has more or less stayed the same, and it still is. Humor has not moved, and I'm not seeing anything that's telling me right now that it's going anywhere else at the moment. But if you take the humor out of conversational reads, that's where things are getting weird. And so probably still about half of what's out there right now is what we have been taught as conversational for the last decade or so. It's still probably the majority, but we see about 25% going off over here and 25% going off over here. And the one over here is what I call the detached read, where it's almost literally just like reading the script. It doesn't really have a particularly actively positive perspective, but it also doesn't have a particularly active negative or jaded perspective. I jokingly call it the 35-year-old cubicle worker who's accepted their fate. You know, but it's a lot of America is just existing right now. That's the reality of life for a lot of people. Corporations are cynical enough that they understand that, right? And so they've adapted to that. But on the other hand, interestingly enough, on the other 25%, sunshine's coming back. A little bit of sales coming back. A little bit of presentation is coming back. Not to where we were in the early 2000s or so, but it's the Karen Gilfrey happy mom read. It was very much female for a while, but now the guys are getting in on this too a little bit. It's starting to be in the male reads more. And, you know, one of the stories that I've been telling lately, one of the most interesting things I've seen in the past 6 months was when I had Billy Calera from CESD in New York, who's their head commercial guy, at a workshop that I did in Manhattan back in like April. And I taught the morning, and then he came in and taught the group in the afternoon. And I'm pretty sure it's the first time in many, many years that in 3 hours, I sat at the desk and was doing some work while I watched him teach. It's the first time in many, many years I watched a major commercial agent teach for 3 hours and not use the word conversational once. And he was basically asking for more out of everybody. Now, a little bit of that's New York, and a little bit of that may be the clients that they're working with, but it is also a little bit of a trend. So we're pendulum swinging a little bit back, maybe towards old school just a touch. And to answer your question, Jim, I mean, that augurs well for our 35 to 65-year-old white guys who, you know, like the occasional extra bite like me. But
those old radio guys that have that radio delivery.
Guys, right?
Bring back the 1980s, baby.
but at the end of the day, the thing about that is that preferences change, demographics get saturated. It's hard right now if you are in a heavily saturated demographic. I've got a couple of guys I've been shopping for a year who are 300K earners who fit that demographic. Who I've gotten those from big agents on them. I just finally got one in somewhere, but that one he got a no from a pretty biggie before we finally got him a yes somewhere else. A couple of these other guys, they're heavy earners, but they're just not ticking a box because they've already got 15, 20, 25 of them who are doing that. So, I said this in one of my blogs recently, but what it means is that just right now, if you are in an overrepresented demographic in voiceover, it just means you got to work a little harder and you got to be a little bit better. You got to be a little bit more aggressive. You got to chase it a little bit more. But if you do those things, at the end of the day, there's still more work out there than there's ever been in numerous genres, particularly commercial. It just is a little bit more grind. So that's where we are.
Cool. Terry.
This one's from Rob Smith. How do you decide if it's appropriate to bring in a second voice for someone's demo?
I just want to say that I have Kayla on my e-learning demo, and I love the fact that she's on there. But yes,
and so the thing, so for e-learning, for anytime you're doing obviously anything with dialogue, then naturally that's appropriate. Commercial demo, it's fairly rare these days to want to bring in a second voice on a commercial demo. It's actually kind of been a taboo for a while to do that. It's considered a little local radio. Most national spots, you're not going to hear that second voice. Is typically a primary narrator. So generally speaking, we don't do that much on commercial reels. They're always the occasional exception to that. Promo, obviously, the other voices as the SOTs typically, in show narration, it might be an expert coming in on an SOT or something like that. But generally speaking, it's not a second voice actor. The exception, of course, anything where there is intentionally dialogue is where we would bring somebody in.
All right, my buddy, Steve Ward. Steve wants to know. I'm just kidding.
Bully to him all the time.
Hey, listen, he's going to come out. He's going to come out stronger for it, okay? That's all I'm going to say. What pet peeves? Traumatized, yeah. What pet peeves do you have for talent working with you, VO talent in general, and the VO business that we should avoid?
Talent working with me, especially if on the demo producer side of things, biggest thing is, and it's not pet peeves because, look, I mean, I am I'm a customer is always right guy. I'll tell you if I think you're making a mistake with a choice, okay? But I always joke that I'm the last person in the world that you want to see come into your hotel or walk onto your airplane, and that's because I've probably paid a fair amount of money to be there, and I've got pretty high expectations, okay? But I expect to give that back when I'm working with people because I charge a fair amount for my services, right? So at the end of the day, to me, I do have that customer is always right mentality. So I try not to have pet peeves, but I will say the one thing that will get my goat quietly, privately with me, probably it's Kayla or Jen that I'm going, right, is people who have trouble seeing the forest for the trees. And one of the biggest problems that I think a lot of talent have, particularly newer talent, particularly talent who may be doing their first set of demos or are kind of new to that part of the business, is that they get so bogged down in minutia that is unimportant, that buyers and agents and casting directors really aren't listening to, that they start worrying about, I heard this very tiny mouth click at, 2-97.00 of and I'm going and I'm listening on, the Sennheiser headphones or proper monitors. I'm listening going, are you a bat? And it's just like, I don't hear it. What in the world, right?
I was that guy.
And then there's this great performance behind it, but then sometimes people will actually wind up harming their performance because they're so micro-focused on stuff that nobody else is ever going to hear. And, quality is important, but then there's also obsession, which you have to be careful about. So that can be, and I do that, when I'm working with talent who, in a coaching capacity, and I listen to their audio, or I had a guy who was actually working with as a coach just a day or two ago, and he was hung up on, I think I under-enunciated this one word. And I'm like, it didn't matter. Your read was fantastic. If you sent that in as an audition, the casting director does not care that this one little word, this unimportant word in the read, was a little garbled. They heard something in you where they went, wow, he's a lot of fun. He's really good, right? And they're going to send you to the buyer because they know that in that session, that buyer is going to have you do that line 17 different times, and they're going to get the one that they want where you enunciate it correctly, right? So careful seeing the, pay attention to the bigger picture sometimes. Talent get bogged down in real minor things, especially like the unimportant little mouth noises and sibilants. Those are two things that some talent really just get in their heads about that most people on the buyer's side aren't really paying a lot of attention to.
Gotcha.
In VO talent in general, I don't know. I mean, I love you guys. I think if anything, we're in this little moment in time where I think there are a lot of people who got in during the pandemic who have done pretty well and who have kind of stuck, and there's this push to sort of kind of climb, out of the middle to the next rung, which is great. Ambition is great. Wanting to get to that next level is great. Keep it friendly. You can see who I love. You three, you can see your heart. You can see what it is you give back to the industry. You can see what you do. You can also see when people have an agenda behind what they're doing, right? So, it's everybody's trying to get attention. Everybody's trying to get noticed. Everybody's trying to get into the spotlight. Do it with good intentions and for the right reasons, and that's the best advice I can give. And you guys do a great job of that.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. It's not who you know, it's who knows you. So, yeah, people are trying to pull out. And all three of us have worked with J. Michael on one type of demo. What's that? Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. And I will say, he is brutally honest with you. He really is.
I love that.
When I first met J. Michael was on a Clubhouse call, and I had a question. I just got my demos back for the first time in VO. I said, how do I know if they're any good? He said, send them to me. And he told me the good, the bad, and the ugly, which was nice. I recently contacted you about a week ago and said, listen, I'm thinking about refreshing my commercial demo because it's been a little bit. And he got back to me very quickly, J. Michael, saying, I just listened to it. It's still relevant. It's still current. So he didn't take my money, which is okay by me. I'm good with that. We have a question here from the Microphone Insider. Wants to know, what time is it in Luxembourg?
2:32 in the morning.
2:30 in the morning. Thank you so much for being a part of this. I was doing the math when you were talking there. I was like, oh my God, this is getting kind of late. But
now, here's the worst part. You're not my last thing.
Oh, snap. Of course we aren't. Oh my goodness.
All right. Well, we'll get you out of here before 9 o'clock then. Let's see. Grace.
Yes. Oh, my friend Stephanie Johnson.
Stephanie.
At JMC, all insiders want to know, what is your favorite food?
Well, the obvious answer is the obvious answer. Of course, I love my lobster. But I'll give you two. So if I want fancy stuff, yes, I love my lobster. If I just want rib stick and good, 285 cholesterol stuff, you know what my favorite thing in the world is? Cheese fries. And I'm not talking about shredded, I'm talking about sauce, like Boardwalk used to do back in the day. That thick, orange-ass cheese sauce all over a big old thing of fries. There is actually, on Uber Eats, there's a place in Manhattan, when I'm in Manhattan, at that hotel I like to stay at, that will deliver me cheese fries at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I always put a little note in there. I said, make them swim. Make them regret their life choices. I'm happy to pay an extra $1 or $2. Love my cheese fries.
I'm happy to pay with an artery clog. What's your stance on poutine?
Well, I think the invasion of Ukraine is terrible, but nevertheless.
No, not Putin. No, not Putin. And
no drum roll, Jim.
No. Hold on. How about this? Hold on.
Poutine.
That's better.
Right, well, hold on.
Poutine the food. Yeah.
Wait. Sorry. can't help it.
This is a lot of fun. I'll tell you what. Let's forget about the poutine because I'm afraid that I might pronounce it wrong in a different aspect. So let's get to this question from.
There's a French version of that too that's not very nice either.
Exactly. I made that mistake once in Montreal. Never again. What DAW do you prefer? And any noise reduction software? He just discovered one Crumple Pop. Any comments on this software?
Sure. Hold on a second. I'm looking at the question. Yeah. So, look, I mean, if I'm doing something sophisticated, obviously Pro Tools is sort of a standard, but it's killing an ant with a hammer for voiceover, so it's certainly not something most people should use. I have a sneaky little DAW, and actually I should give them some love publicly because I've been using them for like 20 years and nobody knows about it. It is an Australian DAW from a company called NCH Software, and it is called WavePad Pro. And that is my go-to for just Audition, simple work. It's fully featured. It supports every file format. It supports every kind of plugin that you can want, but it's really, really easy to use. And I started using it, decades ago. Nobody knows about it. It's not expensive, but it's a really cool little DAW.
Nice.
So that's kind of my daily if I'm not doing anything too messy.
Mike Cunningham, do me a favor. Would you find that on the web and put it in the chat for us if you would, Mike? Appreciate it.
And noise reduction software, obviously, Isotope RX is kind of the industry standard for that. Yeah. So,
all right.
So I just wanted to say something about your podcast, J. Michael. I've been in this industry for 3 and some change now, and I've listened to every single episode of your podcast. It was one of my essential listenings when I began this industry, so that I learned what I needed to know. So that they say you don't know what you don't know. The reason why I knew a lot was because I listened to all of those podcasts. And
my podcast?
Yes.
We're like
your podcast.
Seinfeld combined with Joe Rogan. I mean, it's just like
absolutely. And all those little nuggets that are dropping in. I got Joe Cipriano and Brad. Yeah. I actually found Brad Hyland. Because I listened to him on your podcast first, and then I sought him out. And I was, I'm a member of VOVO, and I say, oh, he's willing to mentor. And I just listened to him on J. Michael's podcast, and I stalked him. He said yes.
And now he's been to his house for barbecues. Yeah.
Right. Maybe the best one ever.
Yeah.
If you haven't listened to the Matthew Parham, Slim to Reason.
It's great.
Episode. That's
great.
It's amazing we're still allowed in the industry.
I think the question is,
listen to that.
Y'all were having too much fun on that one. Yeah, and Kabir Singh is also a very underrated
that's a great one.
episode.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
I think the big question is when the VO Trio is going to be on the weekly podcast. Just throwing it out there. We're available.
When we have something,
you know what? I'll tell you what. Let's have your people talk to my people.
We'll do lunch.
Kayla, we'll get something set up. Yeah.
There you go. I'll have Cunningham talk to Kayla. We'll take care of things.
There you go.
Terry.
This one is from our friend Rochelle Real. How do you feel about the folks who just say, screw it with the specs?
To me, that's the B take. And don't get me wrong. Every now and then throwing a dart on the A take, hey, if you're feeling it, and if you're the one who nails it and you give them something they didn't think of, it's not that it can't work, but the specs are there for a reason. It's not that you have to be completely obedient to them. That you want to make choices, but at the same time, my A take is usually relatively close to on spec. But I'll tell you, one of the coolest jobs I ever booked was summer campaign for the voice of Boost Mobile in the pandemic year in 2020, and that was a B take, and it was a script where it was the same direction we always see, conversational, believable, blah, 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 right? And I did that on the A take, but I looked at the storyboards, and the storyboards were funny. And so on the B take, it was big ironic announcer guy, over the top, this guy. And that's what they booked for a national campaign over the summer for their whole brand. It was just like, and I got into the session, and it was a male and a female director. And I'll never forget that I asked him specifically, because nobody had given me any guidance at that point other than you booked it, okay? So I get into the session, I'm like, so I gave you 2 very different takes in the audition. I'm assuming it's the A take that you want. And so he goes, well, hold on a second, let me play it. And she goes, that's not him. And then he goes, wait. And so we get to the second take, and she goes, oh, yeah. That's what we're after. I was like, oh, my God.
I love that.
That's awesome.
There's actually, you can see the spots. So if you go to my website on the video section, you can see those spots.
All right. Here's a question from Mr. Mike Cunningham, and I think it should be a follow-up question as to when you're going to be on the Food Network with your own show. JMC, what is your secret to low cholesterol while consuming what seems to be the richest, most buttery food mankind has ever been able to conceive? Asking for a friend. That friend is Mike. Hold on. I think he just fell over. Hold on. Medic! Medic! Damn it, we killed JMC.
Stand by. It is a two-part process. This is simvastatin. And you guys may be familiar with Ozempic.
So much for
I'm
HIPAA.
very familiar with Ozempic.
So much for HIPAA. I'm more of a Monjournal kind of guy, but whatever.
What are you gonna do?
Fuck, I love this show. I really do. Let's go to Sharon here.
Hold on. I'll give you a treat because it's about that time of day for
Are you going to shoot up right now? Oh,
I
okay.
can't shoot up now, but I'm going to go ahead.
Like, take his belt off.
Spy on the dinosaur.
All right. Who's ever up next? I don't care. Grace, go ahead. I've lost control of myself. I mean, seriously, I think I had a bowel movement. Hold on. Anyhow, go ahead.
Well,
you're up, Grace.
Yeah. Sharon wants to know, what is the best advice or takeaway from VO conferences that might be overwhelmed with bigger conferences?
Oh, that's an interesting question.
It's a great question.
I think that the biggest takeaway with conferences in general, and I've been saying this long before we were involved in ownership with them, is that, and it makes me a bad salesman for conferences, I think, but that's that the content's great, okay? But at the end of the day, you're going to learn, you're going to get in front of bigwigs and muckety mucks, and that's great. But, we got 1,000 people to VO Atlanta. How many of those people walk out of VO Atlanta with a shiny new agent or a shiny new manager? Maybe 20, okay? So it's probably not going to be you. Right? The best thing about these conferences, big conferences or small conferences for me, is, look at the three of you guys. I don't know if it was a conference, but making friends in the industry, connecting with people, finding your tribe of people in real life, not on Zoom, okay? Because and it's not meant to be cynical or trying to find work, but we do hire each other all the time, okay? Mm-hmm. I helped cast a job for a major brand yesterday. It went to exactly 5 talent that I know, okay? And one of those 5 ladies is going to book that job. And it's just because off the top of my head, I've either worked with them or I've just hung out with them at conference. I haven't done all their demos or coached all of them, but I just know them. They're friends. They're people that were qualified for that job. The more people you meet, the more friends you make in this business. It's the circle of life. And in a lot of ways, I always tell people that you want to you go and you spend all the time in front of the big shots, but people know I hire talent, okay? So I get 500 business cards at every conference I go to too. They stay in the room when I leave. Okay, and I promise you, the agents, the casting directors, it's the same thing. They're not taking those home. They're not going in a database. They're not going to scan your QR code and listen to your demo. That we don't have time for that shit. Okay. At the end of the day, it's going to be, who did you have lunch with? Who did you do karaoke with? Who did you go off site and hit some cool bar or club or whatever with? Right. Those are the people that are going to remember you. Those are the people that are going to hang out with you in the future. Those are the people when they go, hey, we need a Grace Newton or a Terry Briscoe or a Jim Frank because we don't have one of those. Do you know anybody? They're going to say, yeah, we know that person.
Conferences is where I became great friends with Tina Marasco. I met Vince Labica in line buying coffee. He hasn't signed me, but we've been best friends. We text back. We're not best friends. Okay, I'm stalking him, but he knows it, and it's okay, But yeah, hey, listen, I'd like to ask a question here. It's true. And Vince,
you and all of the women and probably 70% of the men in the industry.
Oh, he is a good-looking guy. Oh, him and Kelly. Oh my gosh, jeez.
Well, have you seen the baby? Have you seen the baby? I'm sorry. I had the cutest kid for a long time, but it's over now. Tom's done.
Yeah,
man.
it's over.
His time is gone.
He aged out.
What were the chances the two of them were going to have an ugly kid? Right? Look at
no chance. No chance.
I mean, 2 negatives make a positive. 2 positives, yeah. But yeah, that's what you go there to meet people. And actually, we're going to have, I know this is our last official interview type podcast. We're doing a video podcast before Christmas in July and then our Christmas in July vacation. But we're going to do a pop-up with Hugh, I think. Before we go to OVC to talk about how to conference. I've been to a lot of these conferences and I'm putting together a little presentation on how to conference, how to prepare, what to do while you're there.
So useful.
Ask him about scopolamine.
Let's write that down, please. One of you guys.
Just file that away.
Scopolamine.
I feel like there's a setup happening. I feel like Jim is being set up.
That's all right.
I love it.
I don't mind.
Jim's down for it. Let's go.
He was being set up.
Oh, you is okay. Cool. I had a question to ask you, and I forgot what it was. Oh no, I know. Let's talk about I have to say, I'll say top 10 females. I can't say top 2 or 3. Daughter, wife, mom. Your newest addition to your stable of producers in the animation department. Your new head of animation. One of my favorites, Kristen Paiva.
Mine too.
Yeah.
She's great.
Great acquisition on your part. Yeah. Okay. You've done a lot of great things in your life. That's probably number 1 with me right now. You got really lucky, my friend.
I'm a quieter. I think it's more of a lease than anything else.
Yeah.
No, she's fantastic. And the best thing about Kristen is not only is she incredibly talented, incredibly connected, and has her pulse on the animation side of the business like nobody I know. She's also got the 2 most boopable, adorable little kids that you've ever met in your life.
And their names are awesome.
Wilder and Winter, and I actually at a workshop I did out in LA, I actually wound up babysitting Wilder in the second half of the workshop because Kayla wanted to go in and read, and so I wound up literally they're in there doing their thing, and I'm got this kid cradled in my arm in the bed, and just he's sleeping. I'm like, this is adorable, kids.
But you have to give the middle names of these kids too. It's Winter Rain. Like right. Rain over you, and Wilder Storm.
Wilder Storm.
And his name is perfect for that. I'm going to give a little story here. I told Kristen I wouldn't say it.
Yes.
I told Kristen that I wouldn't talk about it. She said, go ahead, make fun of me. And I said, I'm not going to do it. She said, just do it, Jim. I said, okay. So I'm going to tell a story here. Kristen, well, first of all, I'm very jealous that I wasn't her first JMC animation demo person. Well, because I was her very first one-on-one student, which you hooked us up together. Yeah, we talked about that the other day, her and I. God damn it, I just lost. Oh yeah. I'm taking Ginkgo biloba, but I forgot to buy it yesterday.
Gotta get some of that scopolamine.
Look it up. So I'm talking with Kristen. Kristen said, I just put up some new foam. How's my voice sound? I said, it still sounds kind of tinny. I mean, I thought you were like on your MacBook. She goes, no, I have this AT2020. It's a USB mic, but still, it's a decent little microphone for her. And she said, I said, you sound tinny. And she showed me her foam. And then she took her camera, showed me her setup. She had her setup going sideways like this, talking into the top of the mic, with the front of the mic facing the screen. So when she talked, it was bouncing off the screen and coming into the microphone. She turned it around and she's like, Jim, do I still sound kind of like tinny right now? I mean, it was like, what a change in voice. But yeah,
casting director, not a voice actor.
She's like, God damn it, Jim, I've been here for 2 years. I've been talking about this thing for 2 years, damn it. But yeah.
That's adorable.
So, all right. She's the cutest thing. All right, let's get some more questions here from people in our audience.
Let's ask Steve's question.
Which one, about the AI?
Yep. Because we have to ask AI questions.
If you see it, ask it. Oh, I found it. Here we go. Grace.
Steve Ward.
Or Terry.
Steve Ward asks.
Yeah, go ahead, Terry.
Go ahead, Grace.
I'll do it.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Grace.
Someone talk.
J. Michael.
Steve Ward wants to know, how are you AI proofing your business, and what advice would you give to help others?
Biggest way I'm AI proofing my business is not to touch it. not to partake of the forbidden fruit at all. And one of the things I predicted this, and I say predict loosely because I had a client tell me this would happen about 6 or 7 years ago. But I had a client who's in the e-learning space that I do a lot of narration for tell me that there would come a time where there will be companies that will not hire talent who have ever done any kind of a TTS or AI model of their voice for security and copyright and proprietary reasons. And then sure enough, probably about 18 months ago, for the first time, I had a defense contractor make me sign an affidavit under penalty of perjury saying I have never created a TTS or AI model and that I will not do so as long as I continue to work for them. And that has now happened subsequently a couple more times with some of my bigger e-learning clients. So I am not touching it because I still think it is in a phase where the risks outweigh the benefits for most talent to partake of it at all. I don't see where talent make money with it. If you're a celeb and you're licensing your sound, different story. But if you're not a celeb, I don't see a route to making money with it for the average voice actor, except in some very unusual use cases. And the risks outweigh the benefits. And I say that for most people. I will give you a story where I will flip the script on that, which is that I have a talent that I worked with a few years ago, coaching demo production. She worked with Dave Walsh, a couple other people. She's brilliant, but she's a 60-something thoroughbred, radio polished, perfect voice. She was booking a few jobs here and there, but couldn't really get much traction in the agency world because, again, she's Randy Thomas, and they got a million of Randy Thomas already, right? And so at the end of the day, she had a TTS job come in that was well into 5 figures and called me up and said, hey, what do you think I should do? And I told her, I said, in your case, I'd probably do it because it's probably going to match or exceed what you're going to earn this year in VO for that one job. And because of the fact that your long-term prospects are probably going to cap out in the low to mid 5 figures max per year, this makes more sense to you than it would for the average bear. But for most people who are at a point in their career where they have a long runway ahead, I'd be very, very careful. I just wouldn't touch it. I'd be very careful with it. Here's the other thing, by the way. AI is bullshit. And I don't just mean that in the sense of we don't like it or can it be as good as we are as talent? I do think it can get to the point, maybe there are even a few models out there that are pretty close to that right now that can be as good as we are. They're never going to be better than we are. But here's the whole thing about AI. Step outside of the voiceover world for a minute. AI is rapidly acquiring a reputation among anyone in the creative space as garbage, as spam. In fact, they've invented the word sludge to describe AI spam, and it's catching on. It's something that a lot of people are using to describe the low quality content of generative creative AI when it comes to art. Is it going to have great uses possibly in science and compounding drugs and coming up with new ways to, crunch numbers, coming up with new ways to trade stocks? It's already doing that, right? But in the creative field, it's quickly gathering a reputation way beyond voiceover, graphic design, video, whatever, all this Sora stuff. You look at it, is it good? The Toys R Us commercial, for fuck's sake, seriously?
Oh,
Really?
it sucks so bad.
I mean, it was hard. The press that they got off that, was that worth it? It was horrifying to most people, right? It's trash. And the other thing is, it's environmentally horrible. It uses insane amounts of power. It uses insane amounts of water. It is incredibly not green. It is actually going to very much harm the environment. It uses tremendous amounts of electricity. It is not a societal good. And I think in the very, very near future, I know a lot of people who have a lot more money than I do, who are very quietly shorting AI stocks right now. And that's not financial advice. Talk to your broker. But I know a lot of people who are doing that, and they've been blowing up. But a lot of people right now are going, there's no money in it. It's like nobody's seeing a profit. I was reading an article yesterday, and I forget the major publication. I forget what it was, but there is nobody's making money with this stuff. So it's crypto. It's the metaverse. It's possibly one of these tech bro bubbles that's just going to blow up. So my concern level over AI, you know what's funny is 2 years ago at VO Atlanta, at the end of the opening, I kicked a stuffed robot off the stage as a joke. But I will tell you something. I was hiding the fact that I was genuinely concerned about it at that moment in time. I am way less concerned today than I was a year and a half ago.
So you've
Wow.
you've
Thank
been
you
kind of
for
wishy-washy
bringing.
on it so far.
Oh.
So are you pro or con?
Wait, what?
I mean,
I
jeez. Pick
want,
a
you know
side,
what?
J. Michael.
I wanted to make my Ozempic make me thinner than it already has, and to not, make my movies.
Sorry. You were saying, Grace?
No, I was just gonna say
Was
thank
it
you
a mic drop? That's a pen drop.
Ozempic. Pin drop.
Boom.
No, I was just gonna thank you for bringing
So
all
I
those
listen
other aspects of the outcome of AI to light, because
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people do that, and so I was unaware of some of those things. So awesome! Thanks for the update, I guess.
Controversial
Mike.
question. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, controversial
Mike
question from Mike
Cunningham.
Cunningham. Shocker. Related to AI. How are we as talent supposed to react to larger named talent and industry leaders making AI models while espousing its dangers to new talent? I actually wanted to ask that question earlier.
Well,
Great question.
you're to react to it however you feel is appropriate. I know some of those talent, and I can tell you that privately some of them regret having done it and haven't earned what they thought they were going to earn doing it. Some have seen some revenue from it, but not what they expected necessarily. I don't think anybody did it with malicious intent, and I don't think that there's
Absolutely
anybody who is so blatantly hypocritical as to say, don't ever do it, don't do it, and is quietly, sneakily doing it behind the scenes. I think there are people who have nuanced positions on it, who have made models and who have profited from that to some degree. But I also think that in most cases, not to the degree that they expected, and if they had it to do over again, they probably wouldn't. So I will leave how you react it to you. I don't necessarily believe that anybody has done that with malicious intent.
Gotcha. We've got about 4 minutes left before 9 o'clock our time. I don't know what time it is. What's 3 o'clock your time? Almost a.m.
I don't know. I just it's the middle of the week. I write until I'm done.
2 more questions. What's your best advice if you're going through a slump besides doing more training? Jane Beverly wants to know.
Do more marketing. I mean, do more. Look, there's the best advice I can ever give anybody in whether it's a slump or in general in voiceover is that there's only one secret in this business, and it's not a secret, and that is that the more people who hear you, the more you're going to book, whether those are auditions or marketing touches where your demo's getting in front of potential buyers. Okay, that's the only secret in this business. So if things aren't hitting for you right now, then just double down on the number of people who are putting their ears on your voice. Now it's the middle of summer. Okay, somebody asked me this, and I just say it like it is, right? Somebody asked me this question the other day. In fact, I've had 2 people ask me this question the last 2 days. How do we deal with the summer slump? Why are things slow? What's happening? And I told him, I said, look, I did not stop having a summer slump until I cracked $500,000 a year in income. Okay. When I was under that number, I still had summer slowdown. Okay. So it's a thing. It's a legit thing, all right? From about the middle of June until the middle of August, there just is not as much stuff happening in this industry unless you have gotten to the point where you have such a large stable of clients that you have that work that just kind of sustains itself, right? So don't panic over it because it's not an abnormal thing to be happening this time of year, but double down on your marketing, double down on learning trends, double down on, that doesn't mean coaching or having to spend money on anything, right? Just pay attention, watch more commercials, watch more whatever genre it is that you're playing, and pay attention to what's going on, and just be ready when it comes back, because I will tell you, it's around August 10th is like clockwork every year. Busiest time of the year is from that second week of August
Back
through
to
Thanksgiving
school.
and voiceover, and it just rolls at that point. So be ready.
We were talking numbers earlier, but before the show, before you logged in with us, I just this week I really went marketing because I know it's a numbers game. Automotive, I went with Cliffy and the tier 3. I sent out 499 emails. 286 were opened. 76 went to my site. 5 people put me on their rosters for automotive. So it is about marketing. If you're not auditioning, you should be marketing. Mark Scott says that all the time. All right, we've got time for, I think, one more question, maybe two. I want to get DF in here because he's one of our loyal guys. So, Terry.
Mr. Raisin, what is your preferred mic interface and DAW that you would suggest for someone starting out in VO?
Well, for someone starting out, there's obviously a different answer than I think for what I personally might use. But I will say that it's not that different of an answer because this is not staged, guys. Right here, hold on, I'll put it in this hand so you can see it. This is a Rode NT1A that is very badly oxidized and has not been taken good care of because it's just sitting here to remind me of the fact that this was my first home studio mic. Good God, 20 years ago.
Wow.
And I cracked six figures in home studio work on this mic before I spent any more than the $200 or whatever it is this thing costs. The Scarlett 2i2 is perfectly fine for new talent or something similar. Honestly, it's your space. It's more about your space than it is about your gear. A $10,000 microphone is going to sound like garbage in a shitty room. A $200 microphone is going to sound fantastic in a really nice room, right? So the NT1A, I think, has gotten a reputation for being a little sibilant with some people, and there are different strokes for different folks. The NT1 without the A on it from Rode is pretty popular. That's a good, and it's not, I don't like to say entry level because honestly, these are based on the architecture of the Neumann TLM 103. It's not quite the same mic, but it's the difference between, $140 bottle of wine and a $40 bottle of wine, right? Most people aren't going to be able to tell the difference between those two. It's not a box of wine. So it's not Boone's Hill or whatever.
He's a Boone's Farm.
Boone's Farm.
That's what it is. Boone's Farm.
Wow, that brings back memories.
Peach wine, yeah.
Strawberry. Okay.
Before we
Bottles
let
of
you go,
dreams.
before we let you go and get some sleep or go to your next gig, I do want to mention, I forgot, we have booked a political workshop with you.
Oh,
yeah, I forgot all about it. It's coming up in September 17th. If you look in the chat, I just put it in there. It's above Michael Gonzalez's thank you to JMC. Now, Shell just put something in. Anyhow, look up for it. It's up there. Get your tickets while you can. I think, I forget what the price is, but it's
$399,000.
$53,200. No, it's
a bargain.
It's $139. So yeah. So get online, get those where you can. I think we only have 12 people that are be able to be a participant and read, and we have auditor seats available if you want to be a fly on the wall and just observe. And when we have our Q&A, you'll be able to ask a couple questions as well, just because we would like to keep our.
I'm looking forward to it.
So, yeah, cool. Well, Jay Michaels, thank you so much, man. Thank you so
Hey,
much.
I have one last question.
Is this the one that's been in your pocket?
Oh, yeah, the
Mr.
bonus
J.
question. Yeah, I
Michael
almost forgot. Oh, my God.
It's the TMI question of the week.
Oh, it's the question of the show, of the year, of the decade.
J. Michael,
Go ahead, Grace.
does the carpet match the tile?
You know what? Bald is beautiful, baby.
What a great sport.
Yes.
I agree. Wow, thanks for playing. Okay.
Ooh.
Well, now I've learned too much information. I didn't think it was possible, but now I have too much. I will not sleep tonight. Thank you,
This
sir.
is- we are.
Now I can never run for office. So there you go. You've kept me as far away from the nuclear button as humanly possible.
All right, September 17th is the J. Michael Political Workshop. Get your tickets at themicrophoneinsider.com. Just on the homepage, you'll find a link. Click on it. J. Michael, thank you again. We really appreciate you taking the time. We really appreciate you and all that you do.
Thank you.
And we'll get you on again sometime. Say hi to Anna and give Tom a high five for me, would you?
Yes,
Thank
please.
you guys.
Yeah.
All right.
Hand. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, buddy.
Bye.
Well, that's the wrong one. Here we go. Let's go here. Wow, that was a ton of fun, huh?
Oh, so much fun.
Yeah, I love having JMC on the show, without a doubt.
So
Where-
you
where-
just
where'd
like
Grace go?
banned me because I asked the question?
No. That was Turi. He said do that. All right, guys. Next week, two weeks from now, 2 weeks from tonight, 7/25, Christmas in July, 12K
Ooh,
giveaway. Over $12,000 of shit. Yeah. Damn, there you go. I mean, we have interfaces that Mike Hero, that J. Mike was, Terry, or somebody was talking about earlier today, but either way, Jane says our audio is not great. I have to listen to that on the other end. But if anybody else thinks the audio is kind of wonky on YouTube, let me know, if you would. Send me an email or whatever you guys do. You guys can get a hold of me. I'd love to find out, because I want to make sure we put up the best possible quality as possible. So,
Sure.
you guys have anything to say? Anything to wave or?
I mean,
so fun.
that was super fun. Such a fun guest, and I loved the audience participation, and it
Yeah,
was
you-
just a fun show as usual.
Yeah,
And
those guys.
I can't
Yeah.
wait. I can't wait to give even more back to the community and just like
Oh,
give
jeez.
people stuff. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I'm
Like
so
that's
looking
so
forward to
rewarding.
this.
And I can't wait for people to like get stuff. I'm rooting, everyone on.
Yeah.
So it's
I
gonna
can't
be
wait.
fun.
We already have just over 250 people have registered. I made a joke about typing in, but I found a way to import, so I can just import the list from the website.
Oh,
So it
perfect.
works out pretty
Oh,
good. Yeah.
because Sharon, I
You know what
think
was sweet though? We had a volunteer to type it in
Sharon,
for you.
Oh, no
Sharon,
kidding.
Bevan was
Yeah.
like, right? You saw
Yeah.
that in the chat. She's like, I can help with the typing. She's such a sweetheart.
Oh,
Oh, that's
yeah, she
awesome.
is.
Thank you so much. Pat Kennedy, I do not think Mike posted the information. He said he had to go a little bit ago. Just Google it. You'll find it. And if you could post it for us, Pat, that'd be great. Or maybe Terry or I could do it, or Grace.
I think it's called WavePad.
WavePad, he said. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I actually have it.
Oh, do you? Anyhow, we're out of
So,
here.
yeah.
I'm done. I got to take some more medication, guys.
Yeah,
Yeah, you feel better, brother.
Yeah.
that kind of
All right, guys.
medication. Got it.
Yeah,
No,
the good
actually,
kind.
actually, real medication. Yeah, that's okay. You guys have a good night. Thank you for listening.
Same.
Love you too. You guys.
How dare you?
Oh, there you.